some clips from the episode. So today I am with my dear friend Damian. Danylo, sorry. Oh man.
That started off really well.
I never misspelled your name in my life.
It was focusing so much on memorization and so much less on the realization of something, or actually,
That's so correct.
Yeah,
I'm full of emotions about this topic. The whole examination system of modern universities, traditional universities, is based on awarding memorization and punishing the realization. The whole idea is learning the thing, right? Some people will bullshit about, universities are not for getting a job, they're for theoretical knowledge. Bullshit. Everyone goes to university to get a job. But the issue is, the school is not helping.
Okay, you're trying to pursue a computer science degree, right? You're there for studying. You just have that much time to learn stuff. And if you're going to learn non-related stuff or some trashy materials, it's just gonna take you more time. You're gonna waste your time pretty much.
All right, here we go. Another episode of Baris Balli Podcast. Because I'm a egomaniac monster, I just named this podcast after my name. When I get my first boy, I will ask my boy to continue this podcast. It will be always in my family. All right. So today I am with my dear friend Damian. Danylo, sorry. Oh man.
That started off really well.
I never misspelled your name in my life. I just did it. I don't know why I did it like this. Now everyone knows that I don't like you. Fuck.
I got my name misspelled in Starbucks exactly the way you did once, actually. Man, it's Polish. I just say Danylo, so it's not that hard. I mean, it's not like some unusual sounds for a Polish language, but every other time at Starbucks, they get it wrong.
Man, it's pretty tough name, though. For a long time, I thought it's Danino. It's the yogurt. In Turkey, it's a common yogurt brand.
Yeah, we have this yogurt as well.
You have to?
Yeah.
All right, then let me smallly introduce myself. I'm making this podcast. I'm an IT guy. I'm a web developer. And this podcast is all about not web development, software development. We are getting the professionals and we are talking about cool software topics. But today's episode is not going to be that technical, not going to be technical at all. It is a longly disputed topic with me and my friends. And I'm actually thinking about it a lot also, especially in my study years. Is CS degree actually worth it? Basically, me and Damian, we studied in the same school, same class. Yes.
For the second time.
Oh man. Okay, this time I will censor it. Okay, I will say in the new recording, Danylo. I am sorry. So each time I say Damian in this podcast, you just point it to Danylo, okay? You just make the dummy routing. All right, then Danylo, let's start. Can you introduce yourself pretty quick?
Yeah, so my name is Danylo, not Damian. We went to the same group at the university with Baris. We both made the same CS degree, which we're going to discuss today. Baris works as a web developer now. I'm currently working as a data specialist at a Ukrainian company called VI Tech. And
marketing. How much money you get for this marketing, man? I wasn't expecting this. Okay, this one will be censored.
Got it.
Company, beep company.
Yeah. The topic of learning in general and the university degree specifically is something that I've thought about a lot lately. I'm also currently doubtful about whether or not I need another master's degree in computer science or something data related, and how I would make it. So that would probably even add to my decision later. Yeah, so this will This promises to be an interesting
Yeah,
discussion.
big decision time for real. A master's degree, poof, 2 years just spent. All right, basically, let's put some spoiler and kill all the curiosity over people. I am more into the side of CS degrees do not worth time, money, and energy spent on it, and Danilo more into the side that certain CS degrees actually totally worth it. So maybe let's start with that, Danilo. What is regular CS degree?
Yeah, I don't even, sorry, I'll start with the thing that I don't even entirely agree that any computer science degree is totally worth it. For me, it's still a doubt because, yeah, it's always a trade-off between, the time you put into it and what you get from it, even if it's some data related degree, because to me, just personally to me, it seems like data related jobs focus more on your education and stuff. Even though uh, I don't always think it's worth it, because I mean, if you have enough experience, you will probably make it. You'll probably make it, if you have 10 years of experience, nobody will ever ask you about what degree you have.
Well, in order to get 10 years of experience, you need to get 1 year of experience first. Without
Yeah,
degree, probably it would be hard. But we should
but it's
talk about it
possible.
too
Yeah,
on the later on in the podcast. So maybe let me start with what is a regular CS degree we got.
yeah,
Basically, it was a 3.5 year, 7 semester education. It was quite prestigious university in whole Poland, actually. You can just check my LinkedIn to check what university it is. Uh, basically, uh, how the regular classes were. First, let me start with the years. In the initial years, we were getting more theoretical based education. Math 1, Math 2, Physics 1, Physics 2. I have no idea why we got physics. Uh, After that, it started to more generic, more theoretical CS, general culture, let's say, algorithms and data structures, obviously, networking, etc. And towards the end, in the beginning with third and the last semester, we get into the more industry-based education. We studied Android, we studied AI, embedded systems. In the thesis project, we actually made a project which worked. Mine was a good web application, basically a social media application, but it had pretty cool features. But I'm not going to talk more about that. And basically, how those classes were run by, we had, let's say, 3 branch system. We had one lecture, we had lab, and we had, what was that, tutorials?
yeah, something like that. But it was usually pretty much the same thing as a lab, almost.
Exactly. So we had the lab and we had something like semi-lab. And in the lecture, the perfect path is, in the lecture, you learn the shit. In the lab, you exercise it. In the tutorial, you have the assistant, so you may ask the questions, basically. And I will add my criticism into that, but I want to first hear about you, Damian. Other than that, what do you think regular CS degree? And
Uh,
was it your experience actually in the university you went?
in the other one, or when I went
Yes,
to the same
maybe.
one as you did.
Yes, but you went to Erasmus actually into really
Yeah,
prestigious CS degree. Let's also talk about that.
yeah. So I went to the Netherlands for my Erasmus, the Technical University of Eindhoven, and comparing that to the university that we had, I enjoyed it much more. Mostly, it was more about even quality of the materials rather than what exactly I learned. Although what exactly I learned is also a big part of it, but the flow was a bit different, like how the studies are built rather than having those like 3 branch systems. Um, the subjects are split into theory part and practice part generally. And the theory part is where you just listen to your teacher, same as lectures in the Politechnika Wrocławska, but it's recorded. You don't necessarily have to attend it and stuff. And the practice part doesn't even have a schedule. So it's where you just meet with a group of your fellow students and you pick a room at the university and you perform your project together, which is also based on the stuff from the lecture. But rather than going step by step with small projects on the lecture, you do like 2 or 3 big things per quarter. I think it's called a quarter. Like it's not like entire semester. It's like half of the semesters. Yeah, when your subjects change. So you do like 2 or 3 projects maximum throughout this, and it's not necessarily assisted by the teacher. You can like ask for assistance, get him, but generally you just meet with your fellow students and you perform the tasks based, you perform like the bigger project based on what was given at the lectures.
So basically the practice part is a bit different and lecture part is a bit different. What I get is lectures are recorded and you don't have to go.
For most of the part, yeah, because I hate this. Like the big part about Polytechnica that I hate in Wrocław is that some of the teachers actually focus a bit too much on your attendance. I don't believe it's like the attendance is that much important because sometimes you just know stuff. Yeah, sometimes like attending a lecture is a waste of your time. Because
if it worth it, you go it anyway.
Yeah.
So if you have to go to pass, like not just for an abstract attendance stuff, if you actually need to attend that to get the education, obviously you go. Your definite goal is finishing the school. And I believe if somebody is forcing people to actually attending the classes, maybe they should check if the classes are actually worth it. I love that idea that the classes are recorded, because for me personally too, I believe the biggest problem with the education I got was the lectures. I got so little out of them. I have to say, lectures are huge. One lecture takes 3 hours, 4 hours, and probably they make breaks every once in a 2 hour. And 4 hours is a lot of time. Like I live in a day 12 hours. I'm willing to give to the work, to the thing I do, 8 hours, and 4 hours is something. It's huge for me. It's a big investment. If I'm going to make this investment, I need to get outcome of it. But what I see usually is you just go there, lay your eyes, and after 30 minutes or so, no one. Time to time, the professor is asking something, no one. Lectures are boring. Somebody is reading from slides. And basically your attention span is max 30 minutes.
Yeah, and also it's not just because of the lecture is long or stuff, but because from my personal experience, the way it is explained there, or the way the interaction goes, is not really engaging, and it's not the most efficient way I could learn that stuff. Like I have noticed times and times, at a certain point, I just stopped even listening to the lecture. I just went there for the attendance because I spent 4 hours on listening to the lecture, but when I come home, some of the subjects is just that it's not the first time I'm hearing this stuff. Some of the subjects are pretty easy. It just takes like 30 minutes to an hour to read the lecture, read through the lecture. And you know this stuff. Like part of this stuff is something you have already consumed in the past so that you know it. And part of it is just obvious. And there's just nothing to, talk about like for 4 hours. So I just noticed that it's more efficient for me to do that stuff at home. And so
Yes, but, and one more thing. the quality of the educational material we got. It's my experience. I also around 90% of the time didn't actually listen to the lesson, the lecture. Nobody did because of the quality of the materials. Like we are living in 2023, almost 2024 now. Just check YouTube. Incredible materials you can get. I was just looking for Go pointer system. I wanted to learn around a year ago, 2 years ago. And on YouTube, there are some videos, some individual creators created with animations. Line is getting executed, something going to this memory block, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. And like, think about it. That video was 5 minutes. That video was better than 2 hours of education most of the time for me. That 5 minutes was better than 120 minutes in a lecture. Bam, you got the stuff. No blah blah, no slides, anything. And most of the time, those slides were focusing on details other than the actually getting the ground up, sum up topic. I can go to the details. I can go to API details. We were getting, let's say, Android class or AI class. So what you need to get to learn anything, getting the general idea and deepening your knowledge. And if you are making something practical, doing it with practices, with code examples, with small projects, etc. Other than that, what I was getting is that lecture focusing on one small part of Android development, let's say image manipulation or selecting files, etc. And the whole class was giving all the API details, giving nitty-gritty details. What? Obviously, I'm not going to memorize them. I'm not a computer. We learn by stories. You need to tell me the whole story, how life cycle works, how an app works, and you don't even should tell me about it. I should do it myself.
Right, yeah, and I also thought about that. I thought to discuss it later, but since you have already mentioned it, like I have a bit of my own theory about what are the best quality learning materials. And for me, I figured out one of the most important things is when you get the least number of rules explaining the most number of things. And it's complete opposite of like those whole API specifications, right? If there's just one underlying rule, one underlying idea that you want to get, then getting it and having yourself deduce all the rest of the needs from it or all the rest of the conclusions is so much easier. It takes so much less effort and it gives so much more results than just trying to memorize stuff from the top to the bottom. And that's exactly the feeling that I was getting from the slides. You know, it was focusing so much on memorization and so much less on the realization of something, or actually,
that's so correct.
Yeah, realizing stuff. You know, and that's my problem with all of those study materials is that most of the stuff, the reason why it took me so much less time to go through them at home than at the lecture is because I didn't go through all of the details because I don't even need them. I mean, they're kind of intuitive. If you ask me what is the name, you know, for reading the CSV in pandas or whatever, like obviously it's a read CSV function, not read Excel, because most of the stuff is intuitive. But if you want to ask me why would you want to use pandas or something like that in Python, that's an entirely different story. You have to go through a realization to make it there rather than just memorizing stuff. And my focusing at home was my studies at home were focusing much more on making the realizations than making this memorizing. That's why it took me so much less time.
And Danylo, I'm very happy that you opened that point of memorization actually, because I'm full of emotions about this topic. The whole examination system of modern universities, traditional universities, is based on awarding memorization and punishing the realization. Basically, you don't have to realize it. You just need to have a really good memory and get through all the nitty-gritty details. That's all you need.
Yeah.
So if you actually sit on computer and invest your time to make something, realize something yourself, well, good luck. Good luck in the next exams. Probably you're gonna pay the price. So actually, you pay the price to learn the fucking thing. It's awful. That should be the opposite of what it is right now.
Yeah, isn't it? I
Yes.
mean, that's a similar thing that I was noticing a lot when I'm doing my AWS education lately. And the course and the general thing about like making even this AWS like certification, even though the AWS certification itself, like looking at the example questions, focuses much more on your understanding of things and your ability to like build on your knowledge rather than just memorizing stuff. Um, the way the courses are built and the way the information is put there is focusing much more about like, you know, just getting all the possible exam questions and making you memorize stuff that could be there.
Yes.
Rather than realizing that single underlying easy rule that rules all of that and making you have like your own conclusions about that, because that one rule makes you go through a lot of the stuff that like they want you to memorize yourself, and it's much easier. You know, you memorize one rule, you use much less neurons in your brain, and that works for quite a lot more of the outcomes.
It is the AVS. Like when you said it for first, I couldn't believe my eyes, because damn, like if even the AVS is handling education like this, then we are screwed. There is no way out. I don't get it. There is a big problem with certification systems, and big problem with the monopoly of actually certification givers, like traditionally proven certification givers.
Honestly, sorry to interrupt you. I don't think the exam itself is built like entirely bad. I think the way the questions in the exams are built is quite good. Like they are really trying to like shift the perspective towards focusing on the understanding rather than memorization. But the way the courses or the like learning materials for those for these exams are built, like third-party courses, you know, they are focusing much more on just passing the exam and memorizing the stuff rather than making you learn something.
Also, I have an issue. I want to add it before we continue, actually. The bad structuring of lectures and the bureaucracy. So basically, until I actually find myself incredible online courses. One is Academine, Maximum Schwarzmüller. Well, probably I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Everything that guy did, every course he did, it's incredible. Piece of art. He walks through zero to hero, for real. And I actually talk with the professors, some of the professors. Maybe we should actually change the structure. Maybe we should add this. Maybe we should remove this. And they agreed on me. We shouldn't do it like this. And you know what he said? Because of when we enter this education sign that we will go through these classes, they cannot do anything. So teacher knew that it's wrong. We knew it's wrong. We all continued.
Yeah, the bureaucracy and the organization part is usually a lot painful to me. In particular, that's about a different thing, more about the organization part. But yeah, I had this one story on the other hand where I returned from Erasmus and I had to kind of like submit the returning documents to Polytechnica, which I did by email. But they didn't respond, so I called them a couple times and they didn't respond. Then I write a couple more emails, then I call them. They don't say anything. And then I have finally reached out to one of them. And they told, yeah, that's no hurry. The semester didn't even yet start, so just wait until everybody is up and you can reach them. And when the semester starts, they reach me with, yeah, you're not a student of Polytechnica anymore, just because you didn't submit the documents in time. I was like, yeah, I was submitting
What?
them.
What?
Yeah, so they
Why
struck
didn't you
me
notice
with
me
it.
then? Why didn't you notice me then? Man, I had such issues so many times. But to be honest, I believe this is university specific. I don't think
Yeah,
it is
probably,
common in
but
all around the world.
yeah, but the
Yes.
problem with organization, man, like they just expel you for nothing. Like you did everything
Yes.
right, they just didn't notice it, and
Yes.
they're like, without any warning or anything, they're like, you're expelled. And I came to the uh, dean's office, and they're like,
Hmm.
yeah, don't worry. It's like you still have 2 weeks to not get expelled. It's like a long procedure, so just submit your documents. Like, man, it's a worrying
It's
thing.
and you just became anxiety machine, by the way. Like you are going crazy with all this ambiguity in your life. Yeah, I totally agree. And I also suffered a lot from this ambiguity in overall what you have, what you don't have. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and also
Let's.
returning to the topic, because you told it, and I completely deviated to the different thing. It's still about the organization, but you have mentioned the
Mhm.
curriculum and that they don't change it. And I think it's a very bad thing, that it doesn't evolutionize, and it stops it from
It's awful.
evolutionizing, and it contradicts
Not dynamic.
the sphere so much, because the sphere is so like rapidly changing that if
Mhm.
you have like outdated stuff, it pretty much becomes trash and waste of your time, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
part of it was not even about the materials during the subjects, but about the subjects in general. Some subjects were just useless overall. Even though
Yes.
they were IT related, I could easily not ever hear that thing
That's
and not
so
ever
fucking
use that
correct.
thing.
That's so fucking correct. I'm again full of emotions about this topic. The whole idea is learning the thing, right? Some people
Yeah.
will bullshit about, universities are not for getting a job, they're for theoretical knowledge. Bullshit, bullshit. Everyone goes to university to get a job. But the issue is the school is not helping. It's not helping. It's not standing on the way. Like it's not walking with you, like without help. It's walking against you and trying to stop you to do the thing. I'm a web developer now. You know how much web development skills I got from school? Zero. Zero, no joking. And we
Yeah,
had a
actually,
semester of web development. Danylo. I will just add one more thing. Throughout this semester, we used Java 2.0. That's no joke. Java is right now 17, something like this.
yeah, and it
And
was this beans thing, right? Java beans
yes,
something.
yes,
Man, I
and
have never again heard about it. Like,
never,
I have
never.
never
That
heard
just happened in
anybody using it.
2001 for 3 months and gone. Even the guy who developed it stopped using it.
Yeah,
It
I mean, one of the reasons why I have started to go deeper into data is because honestly, I enjoyed the lecture about data quite a lot. Like the teacher was an eccentric guy, but the materials and the way he explained it, not the lecture guy, but the lab guy, it was pretty neat. I
But
liked
you
it.
mean this Netherlands guy, right? In
No, I
throughout the
mean in
Erasmus? No.
Polytechnica. In
Oh, okay.
Polytechnica, it started from
Well,
Polytechnica. The guy drawing like people and all the formulas. Do you remember that? Having like cats at the end of slides. It was pretty good for me.
I have mixed feelings about it, but I don't want to talk about it. Yes, all right. So basically, I had just enjoyed one class. That was the Python class, but that's not today's topic. I believe this outdating. I want to stress it a bit more. The issue is nothing we used other than that Python class were up to date. We had Linux server management in the cloud time. We didn't have AWS or Azure or anything. Why? Because we signed it out 5 years ago, and it's unchangeable. You just set your destiny 5 years ago, and whole industry just goes to another way. But even though if it doesn't, some skills are eternal, right? Even in computer science.
Yeah.
A good basics of Java would do the job. But basically, so let me explain you how we do actually those labs to the listeners who have no idea. Usually, some parts of the code is shared in the lecture. How to build a web server, how to send requests, blah, blah, blah. And you should use those lecture code while implementing your labs project. Do you remember what happened when we tried? For 1 month, the code didn't work. Professor's code also didn't work, by the way. Like, not just ours. Like, suddenly, only ones who passed actually, the ones who just didn't actually take a look at the lectures at all and try to do the solution themselves in the deep web internet from an Indian tutor in the 4th page of Google. I'm a bit sad. Let me be vulnerable in this podcast. Let me be open to my emotions. I'm a bit sad because life isn't long, Danylo. We will die. And those were the best days of our lives, our 28 years. And I didn't help anyone doing them. Worst thing is, they also didn't help me going through my career. And that's a lot of time. 3.5 years is a lot of time.
Also, not from the general point of view. If you look at that from the perspective that, okay, you're trying to pursue a computer science degree, right? You're there for studying. You just have that much time to learn stuff. And if you're going to learn non-related stuff or some trashy materials, it's just gonna take you more time. You're gonna waste your time pretty much. You know, that's the problem. There's just that much resources, and you're not like
exactly
using your resources in the best possible way.
Exactly,
5 minutes later.
All right, we just made a small break, and we continue again. So basically, we talked about the outdated materials. I also want to talk about the career development, self-development, because, okay, we mentioned that it doesn't help make you grow, and it's just basically wasting time most of the time. It's just wasting your time. I also want to mention the extra work you have to do for your career development. I don't remember even one Christmas holiday or one summer holiday that I actually made a holiday. If the thing that you have to complete is taking all your time, you have to just focus on the thing you actually have to do to grow in your career in summer, in other times. So it just adds this constant pressure on you that you are fighting in two different fields.
Yeah, I felt the same thing. The first time I tried getting a job, I was completely feeling like, I haven't even started moving there. I just looked at the requirements and nothing from there ever was at the university. I'm not saying the university is completely useless, like you mentioned, because it gives you like a really, really solid like base understanding of everything. So now that I like read,
I will get my
2 very boring minutes later.
Cool. All right. So you were just saying, let's take it from the field. You said you look at the requirements.
Yeah, you're looking at the requirements in the job and looking at like comparing it to technologies that we learned in the university. It's always completely different. Like wherever you go, we didn't learn React, we didn't learn AWS. Like a lot of the stuff that we learned was really outdated, even though the like basics we learned, like at the moment, it empowers me just to understand a lot of like existing concepts behind the courses I take and everything. That's a good part about it. You can do it yourself, but I doubt you will have enough discipline to get that much of the basics because basics are usually boring. But the question whether you need it or not is, yeah, it's another question.
Yeah, but you said it's actually helpful. What kind of basics you learned in university?
I learned a lot of maths, which and statistics, and how you like even in statistics when I think about the way I would perform some experiment. I have like a good ground behind how an experiment should be conducted, in terms of data and in terms of statistics. I have a good understanding of what is cache or the networking, for example,
Yes.
when I learn about the load balancers, they mention a lot about layers of network. If I didn't attend the university, that's the thing I would probably omit because that's such basics and that's such like I
But
would consider this stuff very boring. But now that I look back at it, when learning stuff, it does empower me a bit. I won't lie. I mean, I'm not. It's not an argument why university is the best pastime or the best thing you can do in your life. But this is definitely a pro part of the university. That's definitely an advantage that it gives me.
well, to be honest, at this part, I'm not talking if CS degree worth it because there are also other factors that affect this decision. Either if the job market requires it, or are you a disciplined person, or many different things. But I'm just talking about, is it beneficial as an education provider? Because
Yeah, no.
that's its promise. I will give the education to you. And you mentioned the statistics. To be honest, I hardly disagree on that. Because we had a statistics class, 2 maths classes, and it looks awesome, right? On the paper. Bam, amazing. For 3 last sessions, what was that? Semesters. You are going to study math-related stuff. Basically, what we did was memorizing some questions and memorizing the algorithm to solve those questions. And I didn't see any practical place that I can use this class. I had AI classes, I had my own labs, and basically before finishing those classes, I just follow some YouTube tutorials to learn about AI related statistics and maths, because that math we initially learned in the beginning didn't help. At least for me, that's my case.
For me, it kind of did. I mean, I kind of lacked the knowledge just because I wasn't that good at maths when we studied maths. I mean, I had a lot of struggle with it, but looking back at the understanding that it gave me, if I learned it properly, that would likely help me a lot. But if you're speaking about like relating the subjects one to the other more properly, like not making them universal to different, degrees, because,
Yes.
for example, the math teacher is a universal math teacher for any degree. That's something that I'm sure about. He also teaches like architects. He also teaches like engineers and everything. It's hard for him to adjust to a specific major. But if it would be adjusted to a specific major or given in conjunction with the applications rather than separated from it, I totally agree. It would be awesome.
But
It would.
you are still assuming or claiming that the initial math we learned is actually in a way useful in the afterwards, in the after applications. And I really want to know in which way, because the derivatives that we learned in high school, man. It wasn't in university.
Well, for me, I
Matrix
didn't
operations?
learn the derivatives so good in high school.
Matrix
honestly. I had a
multiplications?
different
Okay.
thing. I didn't touch matrices at school at all.
What?
No, not at all. We didn't have matrices at school. We didn't have complex numbers. We didn't have limits, and we had the
What?
derivatives. But derivatives were not explained with limits or something. Derivatives at school, at the school level that I went to, were just given at the level where here's a bunch of formulas that you use to transform one function into the other function. There's no meaning behind it, just like you look at the bunch of symbols and there
Exactly.
is a way you should transform this bunch of symbols into the other bunch of symbols, use it. That's what it was like at school. I didn't know anything about I
But
didn't even know the derivative is rate of change. It wasn't given
uh,
there. It was just purely just transforming one set of symbols into another one.
but I think it was also what we get in university. It was exactly the same, I think.
No, I
Because it was
disagree.
okay.
I disagree because we got limits which were followed by derivatives. Derivatives were explained through limits if you have a proper
In high
understanding
school
of
too.
what a
In
limit
high
is.
school too. We
didn't
first
get it,
learned
but
limits, then derivatives. That was my
we
path
didn't
in high
get
school.
limits at all. Okay, but
Okay.
I mean, for me, it is substantial. For me,
Okay.
that's a thing. I mean, of course, to get a good grasp on what derivatives are, you have to learn limits and understand what limits are. Maybe they didn't do the best job with explaining this stuff. I'm not arguing about that. The explanations were not the best in the world, but the curriculum formats was decent. And watching, I was just using Khan Academy for it. It solved it for me. It just did work.
So you actually, in order to learn the things they teach in the lectures, you actually go to the self-development and learn it from the
Yeah,
web.
always.
So, but
There was no
that proves the
single
point,
lecture.
man. That
Yeah,
proves the
that proves the
point.
point.
It doesn't actually teach. You just learn it from the Khan Academy. It just requires you or points the way. And
Yeah,
I don't get
true.
it. Why
That's
do we
true.
actually go to lectures then? Yeah, I totally agree. And let's mention also that throughout this Math 1 and Math 2, around 80% of the class failed actually, right?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yes. Well, I'm giving to the comments of the listeners on that one. But Danylo was the passing one. For real. But for real, Danylo, you worked pretty hard on that one. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, looking back at the university life, at the way I studied, I'm not saying I should have failed math, but I definitely think I wasn't focusing on the right objectives and I wasn't prioritizing the right things. The way I worked at the university, I was honestly working really hard. You can call me a nerd. I mean, I appreciate the way I worked and the amount of effort I put into it, but I did a bad job. I really did a bad job at prioritizing what exactly I learned. I just, whatever they gave, I did it. Whatever they gave, I just dug into it. And that has its repercussions. As of now, I'm looking back at it and I'm thinking, chasing for the materials from the university or spending the same effort but at something that I would have learned myself. I'd much rather learn something myself now because that stuff is of much less use than something I know is important for me.
Exactly. Okay, then maybe let's continue with a bit self-development topics, then move through the university. I think we said what we had to say in general. All of those, by the way, we have to say this reclaimer. All of them are our own experiences. I am pretty sure that there are awesome universities. I never met with anyone from Princeton or Stanford, but those ones looks awesome. But I also studied in Turkey economics. I didn't finish it. I dropped out. But I'm just adding this to add that I also saw other places. And I've been in the classes, in Turkey also, in computer science classes. I talk with people. I believe for the 99.9% of universities are outdated, not ready for the industry, and became complete monopoly because there is no alternative. Internet is not alternative.
Yeah,
Why?
it's true. Also, you have talked about there are some universities that are good and that you have never met a university. I have met people from prestigious universities, like especially like prestigious also computer science universities, MIT or Stanford,
How was their
Oxford, I think.
experience?
One of the guys went just for master's there, and he was taking his bachelor's degree in Ukraine. And he told that even though the learning experience is a bit better, it's not something like revolutionary, and that the university overall, like the huge, great universities that you hear about, is much more of a brand and a connection and networking making thing rather than a studying and learning thing.
Yes, and probably you can make bunch of network in the prestigious universities because it costs a lot of money to go into there. So you would probably meet with a lot of rich people.
Yeah.
Children will be probably fellow CEOs of the family companies.
Yeah, he also
Good
mentioned that
networking.
even the teachers, like the salary for the teachers, even in the prestigious universities, is not that prestigious. He told most of the people in those prestigious universities are people who made a very good career in IT and just went there as a retirement to do stuff.
I get it. Well, yeah. I think currently the quality of education we get in internet, either through Udemy or YouTube or Coursera, whatever it is so high because it's completely democratic. There is no gatekeepers. Nobody is bouncing you because you are from Middle East, you are poor or anything. If you have $10, come on in. Easy as that. And it is unbeatable because it is a worldwide league. Everyone is trying to gain the most money teaching React. And Maximilian Schwarzmüller is getting the money because he's the best, for example. I believe by education, it's unbeatable right now. Thanks God. I'm very, very happy for that. Awful thing is, for now, we have monopoly in examiners, in the certification givers, and there are a bunch of gatekeepers there. But I believe this will change with time because as far as I see, universities are no way near revolutionizing themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the job market.
Yes.
Even if you compare it to like non-IT related job market, I would say there is a bit less gatekeeping that you have mentioned in IT than in like other fields, since it's a probably like futuristic looking field. People are also but I don't even know what I'm calling, just modern thinking, like fresh thinking or whatever. But yeah, like in my company where I work, there is this consensus that the university education, if we're being completely honest, isn't like a sole and complete proof of your competence. Sometimes, not even a bit, sometimes people who just try a lot are much better that because they're passionate, because they take the better learning materials, because they focus on the right things, and because they know what they want to do rather than just spending time on anything offered by the university.
Yes. Unfortunately, I see in YouTube, don't believe it guys, I see in YouTube a lot of YouTubers are getting millions of views by saying, oh, you don't need a CS degree, just do this Python project where you actually make something in Pygame and you get the job. No, you will not get the job. getting a job is pretty hard process where you suffer, where you show your everything, especially if it's your initial job in tech. And even though I believe in United States right now, they are much more acceptable towards people, self developed developers, self learners, than the other markets, Europe, Middle East, Asia. Still, even in United States, I believe that's a big problem. Whatever job post I see, bachelor degree or above required, and there is no way back, because a HR lady is going checking the education field of your CV, and if it's not, putting that to the trash.
Yeah. Or sometimes even some AI, just no
Exactly.
human involved, just throwing it into the trash.
Exactly. And no matter how cool your project is, if you don't have networking, if you don't know the guys, you have very little chance. So we are kind of obliged to go to university, get a CS degree. I want to mention one more thing. For a long time, it was boggling me why some people who graduated CS degree actually thinks that it worth it a lot. I'm pretty sure you also met with those people. Danylo is not that kind of a people. He's criticizing the fields that actually went well with him. But there are, especially old people, I see it a lot, 40 plus, maybe old is 50 plus, but middle-aged people, 40 plus people, I see that a lot. When they get a diploma, they tend to stay behind that diploma and defend themselves towards all the criticism they get. I see this because, one, for the older generation, 40 plus people, back then internet wasn't that big of a thing. There weren't that many education platforms where you can actually get a valid education. So this is, I believe, caused them to believe that the real education is in university, and the awful stuff you can also find is in internet. I think it's just a misinterpretation of the current advancement in the field. That's one thing. And the other thing is, if you didn't do anything other than getting a diploma, that's your only chance. You need to defend your diploma by your life, because you need to pretend like you actually learned something, because it's all about how you market yourself, right? Obviously, in the technical interview, maybe they make a algorithm test, you pass or not. When it comes to algorithm, maybe universities is better than the self-learning. But when it comes to other things, I sincerely think that in everywhere, universities are getting way behind what is in the internet. What do you think?
Yeah, and also you have mentioned those older people. The thing is, you are always trying to defend what you have worked for, and I think it's just natural for people.
We don't do it.
Yeah, you're right.
We just criticize it. Yeah, but I believe this is the natural behavior, because you just want. I see it around, man. I'm saying that I finished a CS degree. People are saying, wow. What wow? Everyone can do it. Everyone who has passion enough to stay in that place for 7 semesters and a family that supports them, they can go for it. I don't think that you need to be intelligent or genius to finish a CS degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think, I think getting the university degree, for me personally, also because I went to the university quite young, I also attribute it partially to why I have prioritized the wrong things, because I wasn't at a good point there to tell what's better and what's worse for me. It was more of like, continuation of school for me. And the first years of the university, it felt like the education itself. Yeah, I felt much more freedom since I'm living myself. But from the standpoint of the way I study, it was much more like school. I have to go there, I have to do it, and that's it. As easy as that. I wasn't neither job oriented at first, nor was I knowing what exactly I want or need.
Yeah. Even though it's a bad career investment, it's probably more mental health friendly approach actually, because going there knowing that it doesn't worth anything, that has some effect.
Maybe.
It doesn't help. Yeah. And one more thing I actually want to mention. Just after we finished, like the seventh semester ended, and a lot of our classmates, even our classmates, actually just joined the masters. You saw it also yourself, right?
Yeah.
And for all these semesters, we talked actually about it, that universities, defects, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't believe. Why? And Kuba was...
Probably... Okay. I will just interrupt.
I will just add one more thing.
Yeah,
Kuba,
sure.
actually, he was in this podcast in the first episode. He's a really good friend of mine. I like him. He also thought about joining the masters. I asked him, why, Kuba, why? Because Kuba is sharing the similar opinion about universities with us. You know what he said? Man, it's too hard for me to just stay down and learn a new thing. Or maybe I it's not quote unquote. So
Yeah.
I know that he is a disciplined person. But the thing is, it is really scary when somebody isn't showing you around. When you don't have a path, then you need to be your own guide. And you need to take some risks. Everything you do about self-development or you don't do is a choice. And it will have an opportunity cost on you. So if you tend to actually stay at home, play video games when you are free time, then I believe you would find a place that forces you to pass through something more friendly than how me or Danylo finds it.
Yeah, also like the part of it, similar to what you have mentioned, is that it's hard to assess yourself. If you're not at the university, you're passing the exams, you're getting the grades. You can compare your grades to like what you see around or results. You can get a good feeling of where you are. And out in the wild, when you're just learning by yourself, it constantly feels like whatever you do, there's always infinite amount of stuff that you can learn. There's no there's no proper milestones. You can set it for yourself, and that's a hard part about like learning, actually appreciating what you have learned and like setting reasonable milestones and looking back and actually realizing that you have gone through stuff and learned things.
Exactly.
But yeah, the university gives that feeling much more than when you're doing it by yourself. Just because of, this arbitrary system of grading, it's like it gives you a psychological feeling of getting credits for what you have done, and that's something you don't get at all. Yeah, I'm busy.
I'm doing something.
I'm working. I'm submitting assignments. I'm getting it. I'm getting good grades or something. So that's the assessment that you get. You can compare it, and that makes it much easier to feel like you're going through something.
Exactly.
While in the wild, you're just there. It's just up to your self-assessment to actually objectively look at that and say, "Wow, yeah, I have learned that thing. I have a good ground on it. I can do it now."
Yes, Danilo. You know why I love CS so much, computer science, or in general IT. In IT, there is no bullshit. It's not like other fields. You cannot just add to your titles just because you stand in university 2 more years. You cannot just add to your title master of something, which actually doesn't change anything in your life. Think about other fields, man. Philosophy, history, all those humanitarian fields, and also some of the engineering titles, like constructional engineer. There is a big change become with just a constructional engineer, just with a bachelor's, and the one with master's. But in CS, there is no bullshit. So show me the code. So show me the projects you did. Are you able to do it? Like, prove it. We will put you into an exam. You pass, you pass. You're not, well, probably you don't know the stuff.
Yeah, and also there is like no multiple truths, you know. It's not as fuzzy as other, especially humanitarian subjects get. Because sometimes in the humanitarian subject, like being a master helps, and then you come there and you're just being like a proper communicative person. You're just showing your interaction skills, and that helps a lot. Here, it helps a bit, but it's not a game changer. There's just one truth that exists, and if you don't know it, you don't know it.
Yes. But like obviously the examination system in computer science is, I think, in any field, including computer science, is awful. We already talked about it previously in the podcast, so I'm not going to go into the details. And I see this ego. I became fucking professor. How much further I can go? Anyone can be a professor, especially in a humanitarian field. I sincerely believe that. If you actually, especially in the humanitarian field, maybe you heard about these gender studies, thesis submissions on YouTube. Basically, some people are just joking around. Some academicians, they are pretending like they are actually writing a really respectable article about gender studies. And basically what they do is they are arguing about incredibly satiric field. I don't really remember, but it's something stupid. But they are using incredibly complex English. So they are changing the words, making it least understandable as possible. Man, their articles are actually going to the most prestigious magazines.
Yeah.
Isn't it incredible? Like, just the way you can go forward with bullshit?
Yeah, also, like, looking at some fields, you know, sometimes it surprises me that some fields, like, I don't know, arts or science, somehow get assessed at the university just because
How?
Yeah, it's so subjective. It's not that just there's, you know, like multiple truths. There are no right or wrong things. Everything is right or wrong.
Don't even let me start with all this postmodernism and art and modern art. I don't even want to talk about it in this podcast. I already said enough bullshit in this podcast. Maybe I should say a counter, you know, how many times I said bullshit in this podcast. Yeah. But in overall, I believe we covered a lot of fields. I wanted to say them for a long time now. I wanted to share them. Yeah. And now you know. Thanks a lot, Damian. Danylo. Oh my God, I did it again. Oh my! I only do it in the beginning and end.
There was one more time where you didn't even talk about my life.
All right. So with Damian, we just finished the podcast. Well, thanks a lot for being a great guest today. I really enjoyed all the things we talked.
Yeah, thank you, Baris. I enjoyed today's talk. It was really interesting. I have came through a bit of realizations myself. You know, it was also like exploring the topics for myself rather than just talking. So it was really interesting. Thank you.
So last question, will you do a master's degree? Everyone wants to know about it.
Everyone, yeah, super stuff.
Yes.
Still not sure. If I'm gonna do it, I'm definitely gonna do it online, or I don't even know how you call it in English, but there are two types of degrees. One where you just normally go to the university, and another one where you're not obliged to do anything other than just pass the exams. So you just come for the exam sessions. There
I
is
get it.
another
So maybe
type
you
of
would
degree in
do
Poland.
something
Yeah,
like this.
maybe something like this. Like mostly
Alright.
self-studying, but just passing the things at the university. But yeah,
So if you do it, just come back and say, tell about your experiences.
yeah. Make another podcast about
Yes,
was the
yes.
CS master's degree worth it?
Yeah, that will be the title of that one. Yeah, yeah.
We
All
will
right.
tell no, and after that, we will make another one about whether the PhD degree is worth it, right? After
And we
going-
will go for it, right? Like
yeah,
this.
yeah, just it's all
Is
for
being
podcast.
professor worth it? Yes, yes.
I'm just going for the master's degree to make another podcast on whether or not it was worth it.
To prove a point. All right, all right. Then thanks a lot, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Yeah, see you. Bye.